We are live. We are live. We're live.
Hey,
What's up,
yeah,
good people?
it's a
We
good.
walking and talking today. It's
I was
going to
gonna
be an
say a
adventurous
traveling
podcast
day.
today.
A traveling day. Apollo is showing
Uh,
y'all the goods of the downtown Oklahoma City area. Check out the background and the
I'm up north
scenery.
now. I'm
Oh,
up
you're up
north.
north. Okay.
Yeah. All
Well,
right.
my bad.
It's all good.
I was
It's
trying to
all
be the
good.
what are they? I'm trying to be the person that helps us explore.
Yeah.
Okay, Apollo,
We
what's happening?
we off that good hot pin area. Pin and
Okay.
122nd. Well, about
Oh,
Cool
that's a
Springs
hot
up
area.
there. Yeah, it's hot.
That's a
It's hot over here. It's hot over
hot
here.
area. Yeah.
All right. So welcome everybody to the Oklahoma Black Pack Podcast Conscious Disruptors. My name is Apollo. I am the chairman of the pack. And we got Auntie TT in the building.
I'm Tanasha Woods, your favorite person for Apollo to call Auntie
I don't
TT.
care.
But
It's TT. That's what it is. It's
it works.
TT.
It works. It works. Interestingly enough, my nieces call me Auntie Tanasha. So,
That's funny.
yes.
That's funny.
So,
All right. So
um,
we always start off with something positive that happened to us during the week or the last time we've had a chance to chat. And you go first, Tanasha, like always.
always. I'm used to it now. I don't even fight it. So, really, y'all, the positive for me this time is the fact that I have made a different discovery to provide information to our followers, our listeners, our people
Mhm.
out here that they wouldn't otherwise get. So
Okay.
it's pretty exciting to me. So I'm finding that there's a lot of requests for proposals out here floating around right about now. So business owners, I need for y'all to be aware if you're not following Black Pack, number one, but if you're not following the or members of the African American Leaders group on Facebook, you might want to
Mhm.
get in there because I'm gonna be posting so many of these details, and that's exciting to me. Like that, I just discovered it yesterday. So I'm being a powerful source
Yeah.
out here for the people in many different areas, y'all. It's not just one. It ain't
Nope.
linear. So that's the good thing for me this week, being able to be a more of a resource to the people. That's important. And it's my pleasure. It makes my heart just light up. So that's what you got for
And
me this week. What you got, Apollo?
and so the African American Leaders Foundation of Oklahoma City is on Facebook. There's a business page as well. So just so people understand what that is the premier networking group and progressive networking group of Oklahoma City.
Come on, Premiere.
So you can join that and get in the loop on things that are going on for Black folks, for us, by us. Okay,
Okay.
so that's that.
I thought you was
Um,
taking a seat.
nah, as I'm trying to find a seat now, you might hear a little bit of a sound, but guess what? We're gonna have to deal with it today.
It's all
I
good.
probably got most of my steps in from walking around trying to find a place to set up. Okay. All right. So that's my week. Let's see. Quite a few good things have happened. Um, but one thing I'm excited about is, as I mentioned to y'all, my mom is over getting her hair did because I have a little bit of a surprise for her tomorrow.
A
We're
surprise
doing
for your mom.
yeah. I can't tell my mom a whole lot
Uh,
of details, although she's probably
that's
gonna
so
see this later.
sweet.
But it's all good. She don't really know what's happening tomorrow, but I'm excited that we'll get to do something fun together. Um, we haven't done something like this before, so I'm excited to do that for her tomorrow. And the other thing is, 2 steps closer to ownership. That's all I'll say. Two,
Hey,
two steps
hey.
closer. 2 steps closer to ownership. 2 steps closer. So we'll leave it that. We'll We'll share
All
the
right.
good
Stay
news when it
tuned,
comes.
guys. Stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. Stay tuned. A lot of late, uh, early mornings and late nights, but it's all
That
worth it.
ain't new. That ain't new for you.
You know.
You can't plug that one. That ain't new for you at all.
Yeah. You know, for those who know me know this is regular. This is regular life Apollo for now before another phase of life comes into play. Um,
Okay.
but anyway, so Tanasha,
Yeah.
Oklahoma's always made the news, but I kind of want to talk about Tulsa today. Not
Come
kind
on,
of. I
Tulsa.
do want to talk about Tulsa today because, as the world knows now, the world is looking at Tulsa right now. Uh,
Hmm.
and a lot of Oklahomans are learning a lot of things about Tulsa they didn't know.
Hmm.
So I had a chance to. I know some of you all watched it, but um, it was the meeting with some of the living survivors and the representatives of the illegal group and what to talk about reparations for survivors.
Hmm.
And it was watching them talk at 104, 100 and no 107, 104, and 100 years old
Hmm.
with and being able to read with sharp minds and have memories. It was an emotional time to see because we'll never be able to see that again in our lifetime. I'll never be
Right.
able to see that.
It'll be
And
us talking, and people will be amazed.
right, right, and then to be able to see 100 years later that's being commemorated, which we should not be commemorating the massacre of an entire community, but this is where we are.
That's right.
Um,
What has happened?
there, there's this one side of acknowledging, and there's still the same fight of what should have been ours,
Right.
and the financial impact of losing 40 blocks, um, that amount of acreage, and what that financial impact could have been is alarming. But I want to see how the city of Tulsa is really going to respond after more people are seeing what's going on in Tulsa.
I I'm interested in that as well. I'm busy trying to. There's a resolution being presented by uh, House members, and of course written by Black Caucus members. And I was trying to locate it because apparently there's a problem with it being passed because of some of the wording. And forever it was Tulsa race riot, right? And so within over the last since 2019, I think it was,
Somewhere
everybody
around there, yeah.
started, yes, acquiescing finally to the fact that it was a true massacre,
Right.
understanding that it was a true massacre. And so
Yep.
I really would like to share some of this wording, but I don't know that I can find the document at this moment. But the point is that we're trying to have a resolution passed, and if you're not ready, if you don't want to say what truth is, we have to ask ourselves some questions. We've been talking about this Oklahoma legislature all year, and the things that have been passed. I listen every day as we have 39 yeas and 9 nays, and that's right down party lines over here in the Senate. There's nothing okay about it. People are not, uh, they're not resonating in thought. So if we're talking about
Yeah.
Tulsa, 35 blocks of everything charred to the ground. People, let's be
Yep.
real.
Yep.
And you got to imagine what 35, give people an example of 35 blocks, 35 city blocks, Apollo, from
I think
like
if you went from, like, let's say I'm here at 122nd, from 122nd,
all the way up to Memorial. From Memorial to
no, that's not
122nd.
35. Let's
That's not
take
35.
127 going south because a lot of folks are not really north side people here. So if you let's say you went from 122nd down to what is that 88?
Okay. North Highlands area.
Yeah, so from 122nd to North Highland, that's how many blocks were obliterated by white mob and
Okay.
police.
Okay.
Speaking of police, did you hear what T.W. Shannon said?
Share it. Share
Ha!
it for the people who didn't. Okay.
So you got to go back and watch Just Greenwood. It's replayed on our YouTube. So I couldn't understand why T.W. Shannon had anything to say. Um, but anyway, he's glorified in the space as he's in. And so he gets a chance to speak on the floor with all of these legends in our community. And here's the first thing that comes out of his mouth. He fixes his mouth to say there. He's concerned about the attack on law enforcement.
You got to say it again because you broke up. You're buffering.
He was concerned about the attack on law enforcement with this policy.
Now do your response one more time. There you go. There you go. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah. Yeah.
they just talked about hearing bullets, the screams, dead bodies, white mobs, and police. They're talking about their trauma, and you have the audacity to say you are concerned about the attack against police.
But here's the question after that. Why?
Oh, he makes me so mad.
Did you even hear
I'm
what
glad
the
he's from
people
Loudon.
said?
I'm glad he ain't from Duncan. I'm gonna say that. I'm glad he ain't from Duncan.
But the problem is that he's from Oklahoma, right? Like if we were going to say that there was an issue,
Yes.
he still represents Oklahoma, right? And served as a leader in this legislature for a little while. So the thing is that it's that type of thing that we have to understand. I don't even know if we need to understand it. I think just know that it's out there, and we're going to have people to disappoint. That's the best word I can find right now, as it
It's
relates
just the
to.
rhetoric. It's just the how can you in good conscience sit next to a survivor of a massacre of that nature and then say they still are worried about having to pay their bills and make ends meet.
Right.
They lived it, and then you set up there. You make this about identity politics. That's
Right.
what you make it about police. But then you talk about what you heard about. But then you go on this whole rhetoric about they should be. But if I remember, he wasn't in support of uh, policies that support black-owned businesses. But now he's the president of the Chickasaw Bank, and he needs those people to apply for PPP loans through his bank. But he's concerned about investing in black-owned businesses.
So now you're saying something. I just want to say, just on yesterday, I was having a discussion about
I'm
if
here.
we are smarter today. Why are we smarter today? We have a higher intellectual capacity because we're able to go
Yeah.
to college, continue on, da da da. But if we were placed back then, would we make it? They made it, right? Though we talk about survivors of seeing these horrendous acts and
Yep.
not even able to, I don't know, they're functioning. One of the things that you mentioned is that you're able to hear them at 107 be able to actually um, convey a message. They have all their faculties. There's no
Yeah.
no issues.
And I
But
mean
we were
cognitive.
even
I mean,
right,
very aware.
right. And so, but just thinking about, are we as strong? Like, generations today, are we even as strong? Talking about going back to T.W. Shannon, not even not even seeming like that penetrated his soul, his heart, or anything, to the point where all he jumps to is, let me talk to the people who and say what I know my people want me to say. And that's what that was, placating to the folks that he knows wants him to talk about police. That should have penetrated him so that he was choked up. That's the way I feel. That's my opinion. um
But he didn't even look comfortable. Like that was the part where I was like, you don't even look comfortable saying that. Like you have to say
I
that.
just said he's placating to the people that want him to to say it. And like he couldn't say, talk about what they wanted to talk about, but he can't even, this is about identity crisis, right?
Right.
Are you okay with standing true to who you are? Have you properly took self inventory to identify who are you?
Yeah.
What are you really standing for out here? And I want to go back to the fact that if he had been a person to actually see some of those horrendous things or been that child who was accused of looking at the white woman and feeling like he caused all of this horribleness to happen to his people, where would he be mentally? Because we talk about this is mental health awareness month, and there's so many situations out here where young people can't handle just regular bill paying, adulting.
Right.
They can't handle it for whatever reason. And so I'm just all of this wrapped up in one. It's horrendous. It's an act
Right.
that should never have happened, but we have to recognize it. And I want to tell you, I did find the portion when they of this resolution, and the words that they are contemplating should be left out. Check this out, y'all.
Mm.
Direct payments of reparations. They want that out. So it says direct payment of reparations to survivors of the Tulsa race riot, descendants, reparation to the descendants, a scholarship fund to students affected by the race riot.
They want that
Um,
out.
oh, they
They
want
want that
race.
removed.
Oh, they said riot. They wanted the word massacre removed, but there's massacre in other places of this document, but on this one, it's saying riot. And so it's reparations and massacre that they wanted removed. And then um, there's another portion where they didn't want to recognize that, here it is, a young Black man falsely accused of assaulting Sarah Page. They wanted that falsely accused taken out. So what are we saying right now? Right?
House Bill
Like you want to,
1775.
okay. And so, and you just want not to recognize the truth. And so when I was talking to this individual about this bill, I was like, why don't they just go on and pass it? It's not a bill, it's a resolution. Just go on and give it. It is what it is. And we are at the 100th. Tulsa is getting ready to have an amazing celebration or commemoration, excuse me, next week. Vote yes for the resolution and stop asking for all these removals of things that are true. Stand in truth. The person said to me, Tanasha, they're just racist. They believe what they believe, and that's just what it is. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, we believe what we believe, and we know what's true. Even though it hurts us to know these people who have watched their loved ones get gunned down by those police officers, these people who have had outside of types of murderous types of things happen in their families and view those things. Those folks are like in the Underground Railroad when that lady went back to Mississippi and the man had her. I don't know
Right.
if y'all seen this show, but I have to tell you this part. Sorry, spoiler. But he had her sit up in the daylight so she could see all these black bodies hanging from trees. That
Oh,
is
you talking about the
trauma.
railroad?
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
and they also had white
traumatized.
bodies too.
I didn't see that. See,
Yeah, so
this is
there
what
was
I'm
a
talking
part.
about.
So in that,
Believing.
so there's a part in the show where on that trail he said also white people as well because that's what. So y'all need to watch the railroad
Yes,
on
spoiling.
Prime because this is what it showed. It even showed that there are some white people who were, if you were trying to help black people be free, help them with their liberty and their independence, that they can be killed as well. Um, and ultimately that's what happened to some white families. But
Right.
it's just that, like, for us, it's, think about it. The governor said he does not want children today to be held responsible for something that happened 100 years ago. One, you're talking directly about the Tulsa Race Commission, and then to act like that you didn't know nothing about it because you're on all these other things, like it's just this you told on yourself without telling yourself. But if my grandmother is 107 years old, how am I not impacted by her mindset? How am I not impacted if
Talk
I'm
about
from a family that I don't even know? One day, my grandmother was here. The next day, we don't know where she is or where she's
right.
buried. How does that not
Mm,
have an impact on me? My grandmother was in her 80s when she passed away. So that
right.
means there's 100 years of influence to me as a 42-year-old man. And the thing
Right.
about what gets me about racism and anti-blackness, this whole thing is, it's they're protecting their own lie. You're protecting your lie that's supposed to be your truth. But if I dug up evidence, this ain't no OJ Simpson situation. If I
Right.
dug up evidence that you committed this crime and murder, there should be
Hmm.
recompense for that. Period.
Right.
And for
Period.
Oklahoma to continue with this anti-blackness, anti-legislation, it drives me nuts because they're proving Tulsa's police officers' involvement in their massacre, but they want no association with that. They're proving the dollar amount in wealth, the dollar amount in wealth. A quick thing, real quick, and
Mm,
I'll stop because I'm before I get to my rant because I'm feeling it. Um, in black communities, freeways were created to divide it.
right.
So
And
that means that the
railroads. I thought
and
railways too.
and freeways, railroads, and freeways. But if you think about most black communities that were separated from a downtown area or certain areas of town, the east side of that or the other side of that is where black folks are. So think about
Mhm.
235. See, nobody's talking about Deep Deuce either. See, that's going to be the hard
Right.
part for Oklahoma City. 235 was systematically created. And then also the freeway that separated Greenwood was systematically created to divide and separate and divest from those communities. Those are just visible landmarks you got to see every day.
Exactly. For those people that are live to be 107, they riding those roads. They
Yep.
remember what it used to look like.
Yep.
Thrive in communities,
Hmm.
and so every day I get to walk outside and see this craziness that y'all have created for us to live in, and dare us to say anything about it. As soon as we do, what did you said a few minutes ago? That it was a trigger for me. You said to their truth, living
Right.
in their truth, or making their lie their truth.
Right.
But the lie has been exposed.
Hmm.
So once the lie is exposed, right? Like, isn't there something that's supposed to happen after that? Like, you can't keep living in the lie,
Hmm.
or can you? Like, they've been living
Nope.
in the lie.
So we'll do
I just,
proclamations, we'll do recognitions, but we won't talk about legislation. So, and then we've talked about this several times, and do a great job of bringing up the language and bills and propose and talking about it. And that's why I love how we complement each other in this discussion because you really talk about the policy, the structure of the bill, and things like that. But let's dive a lot deeper in what people should be thinking about as this session's getting ready to end. And it sounds like that they're trying to do what they can to end early before Memorial Day weekend. Well, actually, this Friday, right? This Friday is the last working day.
well, they would normally be done Thursday because that would be the last working day.
Okay,
So
because
they've
Friday
done
was a holiday.
honestly they've done good this session because we weren't out as early as the first week of May, so we're still in.
Okay,
And yeah, so can't be mad at them this time.
yeah. What's good about that? They're actually working while they're supposed to work. But
Okay.
what is the work that we need to be doing after that? I know we talk about that, but I want
Mm,
people to hear that just because the session ends does not mean that the
the
work
work does not
stops.
stop.
So let's dive
Right.
into that so people have an understanding of why the phone calls, the emails, the showing up, the organizing, all that still must happen in the interim session.
I want to start off by saying I would like for those people who are watching, who watch later, to really come to have some introspection about time duration, right? And how long you're willing to put in on something to make your truth come to fruition, right?
Yeah.
So, and we always say a fight. Sometimes it's not a fight; it's just the time, right? you've got to make sure people understand why these things that your community is advocating for is important, and how it impacts not just your community but others, right? And
Right.
so it's a sale factor, right? So we're not in corporate America where sales need to happen quickly, but we are in government where you have to sell to multiple individuals, and it's a mentality that you're actually trying to change and affect. So I wanted to
Hmm.
start with that. So the reason being is this. So if you come to your legislator, let me start with this. Secondly, while session is going on, you're listening to the bill passages, or you're listening to the things that fail. You're finding out how they really truly impact you positively or negatively, and say you feel like it could have been better. Say you
Yeah.
watch the bill so closely and you realize that it only failed because by 10 votes. Well,
Hmm.
what if you took the time to come together with your people and come to the Capitol and advocate on behalf of that bill, that same bill? You would talk to the originator of the bill, the author. You would talk to both the House and the Senate author of the bill to make sure that
Hmm.
they want to run it again. That's
Hmm.
one thing. And I said
Okay.
again, so we're talking about something that's already been ran, right? You would
Okay.
find those 10 people that did not vote for your bill and caused it to fail and talk to
Hmm.
them. There's
Hmm.
selling points right there, right? And so that's the emailing and showing up and the phone calls. Just have a regular phone call. Asking why. Even if you don't get to talk to the legislator and you're talking to the assistant, the executive assistant or the legislative assistant answering the phone, and in my case, chief of operations, Senate District 48. If you're talking to one of us, come with your information properly. Let us know what it is that you are seeking to do, how you'd like to do it. Excuse me. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. What do you think it will benefit? So you actually selling,
Hold
don't
on,
act
y'all.
like we
Look,
don't.
hold on. Y'all see how Tanasha looked over her eyes like that, over her glasses? You do
I
like
forgot.
this. Like,
I can't
well,
see
y'all
people through the
look.
glass.
Look. Well, y'all, this is a body language indicator. I'm trying to tell y'all right now. When Tanasha does like this, right there,
I can't.
she is she is hoping that you don't come with no mess. That you come absolutely correct with your question, be succinct, and get out the way. So she ever do like this, like looking
That's
over the
not
top.
true.
Yeah,
Let me
look,
tell you,
yeah,
you always
whatever.
joking.
Yeah,
These
no,
glasses are made to
no.
read, and
No,
so
oh,
when
they
I'm
reading.
looking
Oh,
at
no.
people,
They was reading. Tadashi. Oh, they was reading. Oh, they were reading. Look, I know you too much. I know you too much. I
there's
know you
something
too
wrong
much.
with you.
Okay,
Trying to put
okay.
all my secrets out in the universe.
Yeah, look,
This
I'm
ain't that ain't
trying
for
to help
everybody.
people. When they come talk to Auntie Titi, they don't get this right here. They get straightforward. Hello, how you doing?
I may as
They
well
get
take
that.
the glasses
They
off because
they get
otherwise
that
I'm gonna be
conversation.
looking over these glasses. So if I'm reading, I'm likely gonna put these glasses on. Anyway, back to the lecture at hand. Moving forward, so that's a bill that's already been run. You saw the legislators who did not vote for it. So I would encourage
So there's a
whomever agrees.
likelihood that some bills that did not that maybe died in this session that could resurface or be recycled uh
Yes,
again upcoming.
oftentimes,
Is is
oftentimes.
that is that a common, speaking specifically Oklahoma legislators? Is that a common thing that happens where they're not necessarily um, investigating new legislation that could be transformative, but often recycling because it's an easier thing to do?
So I wouldn't put on the end easier thing to do, because let me give a real life example. Senator Young has run earned income tax credit bills since he was a House member when the legislature first voted to get rid of it. He's run a bill to bring it back. Okay. So that's been over at this point, I know, over 4 years. It's not
Mm-hmm.
easy because it hasn't passed, right? He's also run increasing the minimum wage. What there's not That's not easy, but what that does is every time you present this bill, you are able to bring more information. Like other states, other cities are doing the same
Hmm.
thing. So you're able
Okay.
to present more information each and every time you bring it. And perhaps lobbying for that bill throughout these years, there's a group that stands behind you. So say Oklahoma Black Pact said, we are going to definitely stand for this bill and we're going to work this bill each and every year, right? That's why I began with time duration, because you
Hmm.
still have to get the massage the people to get them to say, all right, we'll go for 1050 but not 15. You know what I mean? Like, you've got to somehow get it
Hmm.
to the way that they are. It's the compromise. That's the way you do your compromise.
So
And
then, but
let's
what
go on.
about those ones? No, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
The bills that just that they file again. I was going to go to that. Not that they were easy. I wanted to point that out. But yes, it is a common theme that legislators will refile bills because they are uh, looking to have another interim study. They'll bring in other people out of the community who say it's for the racial impact study. This
Hmm.
past interim study we had regarding that, we brought in people from the city, people who worked on Department of Justice. We had so many different individuals to present, even people from OSBI to present
Hmm.
data and statistics and why we
Hmm.
would need these things. And from that study, we learned that each city and county report their apprehensions differently. So, say if
Hmm.
there was a wreck and it was caused by the individual, whatever, because they were drinking and driving,
Hmm.
Norman might notate that as a A1. Oklahoma City might notate that as a ANH. Edmond might notate it as a BLY. I don't know. How do
Right.
you succinctly put those together and come up with good numbers as to how Oklahoma as a whole is affected by these particular things? It's difficult. They just don't have
Hmm.
a regulatory or in common way that they notate different things. So that was something good to learn from that. So this time we can have another interim study. So this is what I'm getting at. When you refile, it's good to have an interim study to bring in more information to prove, y'all, we need this. These things continue to happen, and what can help fortify our communities better than putting this in place? Because look, just over this one time, but over
Yeah.
the last 9 months, we've had da 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 happen, and the da 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 comes from people who are presenting who works in those particular areas. And right now, I'm talking about racial impact study, but we could be talking about elder care. We could be talking about healthcare and disparities in communities. It's the gamut. Now, one thing I will say, and it's important because I don't want people to think they need to call all their legislators and demand an interim study, because it don't work that way. There's a certain amount of interim studies that are approved by in the Senate, the pro tem, in the House, the Speaker. So you don't even know your member can submit 6 different interim studies and may only be approved for 3. So I want everybody to be clear. It is a process. You can reach out to the pro tem, you can reach out to the minority and majority leaders. You can reach out to them, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to approve whatever it is. So you got to know how to work within those confines and understand that all is not lost. Because even if you submit 6 and you get 3, then we got 3 and not
We
0,
got three. Right. And
right?
it's good at what you said earlier about timing, because it's like when you're at a certain level, like use your example about sales, if I'm selling something that's transactional, so if I'm selling something people need, cell phone, you walk into AT&T or Sprint or Verizon, wherever you got, you walk
Mm-hmm.
in because the customer already knows what they need, a cell phone or something cell phone related. Hey, buy this. It's very transactional. It's usually pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're trying to sell a solution with different parts, it does take time.
Right.
And I'm really glad that you mentioned that this is a process that does take time. You'll find some low hanging fruit, but
Mm-hmm.
knowing that, okay, we didn't get it in the current session, but we got 8 more months to work on something else. Or hey, what if we want to prove that we need more investments in black owned businesses or in healthcare or whatever type of infrastructure it is, or addressing food apartheid, what type of data do we need? So correct me if I'm wrong, the study helps prove potentially why that legislation is necessary. Is it
Yes.
like, okay, so
So let
they
me
go hand in hand? Is that
let
right?
me let me let me spell it out. So interim study is made up, number one, of they're assigned to committees. So
Okay.
if your study is assigned to the Health and Human Service Committee, the Health and Human Service Committee, I don't have my thing right here with me, but um, it's built up of maybe 12, 15 legislators, right?
Okay.
Both, since we know, let's talk about the Senate only. Since we know there's only 9 Democratic senators, the chances of you having more than one Dem are slim, or you may just have two, right?
Okay.
And so you know that the rest of the people, so if you have 12 individuals in there, then the rest of the people are of Republican Party in a real life case. So you get to go in and submit all of this information. You can submit back in 1980, the challenges for this particular type of legislation didn't work because, but we found in 1990 this worked, and it kept on rising as time went on. Those types of things, and you present it to both all of the members who are present, number one, and that's how you start selling it to the ones who may always vote no on this type of legislation. Okay. It's,
Yeah.
to me, an interim
Let me
study.
also jump in too, because you said that there's a likelihood, and this is something we often hear. You and I hear this a lot. There aren't that many Democrats in the legislature.
Right.
There aren't
Not
that many
in
black.
Oklahoma.
Like there's this conversation about there aren't that many, which is why there's a significant amount of loss. Now, there's a reality is that if the deck is stacked up against you, you got to figure out how to win.
Right.
But that
You got
also
to
is
build
an
a
opportunity
strategy.
for you to figure out, like, what is the strategy. So if I know, if I'm a Democrat and the majority of that committee is Republican, what I found that's worked for me, um, and those of you who know me or watch enough about me know that I don't run from a lot of stuff, and I'll say
Right.
what I believe the truth is.
He'd be
But I
working on a
also
wish
know,
factor.
I mean, but I also know in a lot of these conversations when I'm saying, "Hey, I'm here about black businesses and black people,"
Mm-hmm.
but I also understand that although I'm a registered Democrat, I'm going to have to work with somebody else that may not have the same views as I do or experiences. And sometimes it's other Democrats that are the problem. So
Right.
I don't want people to think that because if you might be of one party, then the other party is the problem. Number one, we're human beings that have perspective. So if you
Mm-hmm.
can connect with that person on a human level,
Right.
from I'm coming to you as me to you, not my
Right.
identity politics to you, because I don't
Right.
agree with everything that Dems do, Republicans do. I'm not straight
Right.
Democrat. I don't. So it's this vice versa. But if we can find agreement, and that's my
Mm-hmm.
job in sales, is my job in sales as a leader and a bridge builder to find the agreement. And if we can focus on the agreement, like that good book says, how can two go together if they don't agree? Well, we can't walk
Mm-hmm.
together if we don't find agreement. So
Right.
I want people to hear that you're going to have people that you might think are on the other side of you, but
Mm-hmm.
it's your job to figure out where can we agree on. Let's focus on the
Com-
agreement.
Find the common denominator. Find
Yeah,
what you love about something that you share. So
yeah.
I used to work in social work, which this area also reminds me of social work because you're still helping the people. But one of the
Hmm.
things that would happen in our office is when different agencies wanted to gain, like I was a case manager. So if they wanted
Hmm.
you to refer your cases to them for therapy or drug court or drug, whatever it was, child, anything, independent studies, whatever it was. They would come to the office and bring these nice, cute baskets of whatever, or gift cards, or these and this and this. I'm not telling y'all to do that. What I am saying, though, is when you come all the time, it's not about talking about the issue. It's identifying with the other human.
Right.
In the governmental excellent program that I was in, one of the challenges was talk to somebody that you wouldn't normally talk to, right? And
Mm-hmm.
in my mind, I was like, okay, there's plenty of people that I wouldn't normally talk to, but that doesn't mean I don't talk to them. I handle business with those
Right.
individuals, but I don't just,
But it
go
may not be
break bread.
personal. Yeah.
Exactly. And so
Yep.
sometimes you can really find that you and that person that you think is so absolutely opposite of you totally agree on this color structure. I don't know. Some glasses.
Right.
You like to swim. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And then you formulate a good rapport, right? I don't mean that you become friends, but that rapport helps to build respect, and you working in a whole different realm.
You
And
know what I
it
love about
works.
your member? This is what I
What?
love about your member. This is what I love about your member. The
Okay.
the legendary uh born and raised in Memphis.
Okay.
I ain't gonna start doing like he do on Sundays when he start preaching. Cause I be practicing by myself so I can get it right. But
That's funny.
what I really respect about Senator Young, it's you know what he's fighting for. You know
Right.
what you are clear on what he's fighting for.
Mm-hmm.
But he is patient enough where he will listen to you.
Mm-hmm.
He'll let you get it out. Um, but there's also this point where he gets to all right, enough is enough, right? But the time to get there, it's not a short one. Like
Right.
he listens to people and he's doing the noble thing. He's speaking up. He's talking in a way that commands respect because he also gives respect.
Right.
We've seen far too often in our state legislators. We've seen it at all levels of government and elected officials in this state. Disrespect.
Mm.
We see the disrespect,
Mm-hmm.
but when we, as a people who have been disenfranchised, our community's been divested, when we stand up in truth and are clear about it, we're disrespectful.
Mm. Right.
So the
And that's
same standard is not applied when we say,
what.
no, we're standing up for what's wrong, and we can prove what you said is wrong, but
Mm-hmm.
now because now they have this benefit of whiteness that our blackness becomes anti-black.
Okay. But that goes right back to what I was saying about the resolution that's they're having problems passing. You're standing up for what you know. This is truth. We're
Mm-hmm.
not making up stories here. And then all of a sudden there's a
Yeah.
problem. And so honestly, when we go back to House Bill 1775 and the whole debate, if people have missed that debate, y'all feel free. Email me. I will send you that debate. I've posted it in different places, but I want everybody to see that debate. Anyway, the point in the whole one is 2 hours long. What you don't
Yeah.
see is all the questions and things that were said. But in the debate, literally saying not wanting white children to feel a particular way. I don't think it's the children in the first place. It's the adults that feel a particular way right now. And this is the reason why they fight for such debilitating pieces of legislation. We could be doing so many other things. I don't know if, Apollo, you looked at any of the budget, which the governor has already signed,
Yeah.
but I'm going to
Not yet.
share this tidbit of information. You just got done talking about Senator Young, and we know that we're going to have a Claire Lupus Center here.
Mm-hmm.
And we also know that that was included in the MAP's 1 cent sales tax, right? Well,
Mm-hmm.
how does that work? You don't get the money all of a sudden. Like, okay, the gavel's been hit and the MAPS was passed. Here's your millions and millions of dollars. I beg your pardon. That's not how that works. So we got to
Nope.
wait for money to be built up into this pot. So in the interim, Senator Young and other people came to him asking if he could see about helping get more funding so that they could actually start the basis. People that understand how to build a business know that you've got to hire people before you have the
Right.
actual structure, right?
Right.
And so, with all that being said, Senator wrote a piece of legislation asking for a particular amount of money to be put into appropriated out of the funds for that particular project. And I'm just going to wrap it up with this. It was not even considered as far as I'm concerned. And when the budget came down and they came over to tell the Dem caucus about the things that were in the budget, as it relates to Black communities, the things that were included were this: money for Black towns to be able to apply for grants. That's a good thing, right? But it's a drop in the bucket. And I don't remember how much it was. Y'all can email me, I could tell you. And then the second thing was money appropriated for trips to go to visit the Clara Lupus Center that's not even built. And I mean, go to Tulsa and the Black towns and things like that. That's it, y'all. Like,
wait a minute,
we asking what?
Tanasha. Wait. Here's the truth. I get you read the bill. Here's the truth. So, an Oklahoma City representative filed legislation to benefit the museum in Greenwood, but not in their own. Anyway, also, it's the hook. So it's, hey, I need money for this one. So for me to get these people to give money that are in Oklahoma City or in Western Oklahoma, I need to include something for them in Oklahoma City and Western Oklahoma because I need it for Eastern Oklahoma. So it was throwing crumbs with including Black towns and the Clara Lupus Center.
The whole thing was crumbs because it didn't even
because
total. But it didn't even total what was being asked for
no,
Clara
not at all. Not at all. Not at all. But what I hate about that whole scenario is we people that look like me and you, not people, I would say more like individual, prostituting and pimping us for self-glory. And we didn't get what we needed. Because at the same time, if you say we're allocating money for grants for Black towns, right? That's fine. But Oklahoma is one of 6 states that has anti-race and gender legislation. So how does that further impact their ability for a Black town or predominantly Black communities or predominantly minority communities to get money from the state? Because the state still says we don't award, here's the hook, you get the grant for $200,000 for a program, but guess what? You got to build up the economic growth in that area. You got contracts and builders, et cetera. But guess what? We can't award to Black-owned business because they're Black. We got to award it because it's the best and lowest bid. You still getting screwed. Okay, off my soapbox. So I appreciate that, but we also have to then look. So during the interim, Oklahoma Black PAC is going to be working on some research to figure out the voting behaviors of our entire legislative, because we got to understand because what we see now is manifested from last year or years before. So if we know that they're not, if they are not typically requesting monies to be allocated to communities, then that's a conversation you got to have. It's a conversation you got to have when people are parading around as if they give a daggum about healthcare, but you got elected, but you have no bills for issues and needs affecting Black people.
I want to add to that.
That bothers me. That chaps me.
It should bother all of us, right? But I do want to add to that you said what the PAC would be doing during the interim. I personally would be involved in what am I trying to say? Taking data as to the behaviors, and I'm not talking about their actions. I'm talking about as far as person. I'm talking about their voting behaviors.
Hmm.
whether they're present. What I would like for the people to start paying attention to and really caring about is this person present?
Right.
The job is, let me be clear, and I'm going to say this more than one time on this show. The job is 4 months. The legislature convenes the first Monday of February, and constitutionally written that they should end the last working day of May. Whenever you hear that they're called asking for a not special session. It's special session. Yes, they're asking for to suspend the rules so they can do something. When they're suspending the rules, that means that they want to do something that's outside the Constitution, right? But they do this stuff all the time, and if you haven't read those things, then you won't otherwise know. But I'm just trying to give y'all pieces of these little nuggets where you can, when you hear this language, you're not dumbfounded. Like, I don't know what that is. And so many people don't ask questions after they hear something on here they don't know. But I'm completely interested in helping the public understand why it's necessary that your legislator is present. Your legislator was voting, whether you voted for them or not, they represent you. And you
Yep.
want to know if they are out here spending time talking about what was wrong with a particular piece of legislation, and you find that they didn't vote at all, you want to know why. And I don't mean going to them, where were you at in the bathroom? I beg your pardon. That's not what I'm saying. Every single time, that's called walking the vote.
Yeah.
And you need to know what in the world it is about. You do. And that will help you as a voter decide, hey, we need somebody that's going to pay attention and really be pulling for us. So that's what I'm, as a part of the pack, that's what I will be doing, uh, gathering that information. So y'all stay tuned.
Okay. No, then and that's definitely in line
What's
with
going
the
on with your
conversation we've
camera over
had
there? You
because
still.
what you look a little delayed on my end, but we're good though. So this and that's I'm glad you brought that up
You
because
do
that's
too.
information that people need to know because it's important that you know people are predictable. It's important that you really know this is the behavior of this person in office and to
Oh,
know
shoot.
for this person
Now,
representing my district award, I also got to figure out for the interest
mhm,
of the people in this district or ward or area, does this person represent
mhm,
those interests? So then to be able to
right,
find and develop and encourage those who match the needs of those that are voting for them. Instead of voting based on likability and familiarity, give people a second chance, et cetera, et cetera. I don't care about that because at the end of the day, your job is to be in that position and advocate for the people you represent. That is
right,
your job. And part of our
right.
and our responsibility is hold them accountable. And two is also to give them the information that they need. The more you engage and connect with them, then you can know, okay, this person is on top of it, this person is trying, or this person just full of it. And
Well,
then you make the
I
decision
just
from
want to
there.
bring this up. We're talking about actual voting, right? So we
Yep.
talked about before when some legislators voted in proponency of a particular bill, and then when it came to the floor, they opposed the bill, right? And so why, right? And so there was a lot of noise. And people, I'm just saying, Apollo, people need to understand that those things work. Hold them accountable. Why did you vote this way in committee? Then you get on the floor and decide that it's wrong, and then you want to debate and have an impassioned debate. Go ahead. So anyway,
because because
I
my the members of my district this have called me and
oh,
voiced their concern. So
whoa,
now you
well,
yeah,
yeah,
now you're crawfishing and pulling tail. Yeah, we get it. We get it. Now we understand because you've been exposed. And people that often will have a self motive, a self interest, it never works out in your favor. Now leading is hard. Leading is hard to do. Doing something that
right,
you're going to get constant opposition is hard to do, but you can lead in a way that is that people will understand that person is really trying. I'm not talking about participation trophies. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking
Right.
about when you sacrifice, you done all that you can, you get these small wins and small victories to help people. That's the type of leadership that we need to represent us, and stop giving people passes. Y'all, we got to stop giving folks passes because they cool or they went to school with
No
a certain
pass.
school. Like nobody gets a pass. We'll go hard on somebody who's not black for something that we fully know about or partially know about. But we won't put the same responsibility in we now that's not the right thing to say. We must put the same level of accountability on elected officials and leaders who look like us. And I'm also on that pot too. So if I'm not doing something that represents progression, then I need to be held accountable for that. And so that's the what I'm excited about. What's coming up? This is our we're going into our completing our first full year as Oklahoma Black Pack, and we've learned some great lessons. And so we know what looks like going forward. So what I would ask those who are listening and those who care about your communities is
Mm-hmm.
that go to oklahomablackpack.com, sign up to be a volunteer, and also make a donation, because the work that we're doing, even the time frame that we're not on this podcast, the work that we are doing is setting us up for what we are going to execute in the interim session, and then the second half of the 58th. We're not playing, and so it's making people uncomfortable, and they should. We are not in. We are no longer in the headspace. Well, we've never. Our group is not in the live to be comfortable space, because this is about making Black lives and Black communities better. So
I'm uncomfortable
yeah,
every day. I
every day,
need for y'all to be uncomfortable every day.
every
And
day.
I don't mean living nicely in your discomfort. I'm talking about something stirs me up every day.
Right, right.
It's healthy.
And I will say, for on all levels, like, we need people who are going to be loud and walk and protest. We need people who are going to not be loud, and they're working behind the scenes. We need people to take different angles and approach. We don't need the same type of thing, because we need
Right.
different thoughts, different minds, different
Right.
energies, but we're working toward the same progress and goal. And just because what we do with our organization, we might be doing something, but if another organization is created and it does their thing too, as long as the work that we're doing is progressing, that
Right.
is all that is the number one priority for us, is the work that's being done is progressing Black community. So, all right, it is 12:06. We are over our time today, but we always got to leave with a positive quote from Auntie TT. So this is Auntie TT's positive quote moment. And I'm telling you, we gon' get this theme music for Auntie TT's hour. So Auntie TT, go ahead and bring us out with something positive.
Listen, everything we've talked about today just reminds me of, and I think I said this on our very first podcast. It reminds me of defining ourselves. Audre Lorde. If I don't define myself for myself, I will be crushed inside other people's fantasies and eaten alive. Y'all, we done with that. Define you for you. All right, that's it. That's what I got today.
Man makes it simple. Thank y'all for joining us today. I think this is episode 10.
10. What?
This is our 10th episode of Conscious
Doing it.
Disruptors Podcast, Oklahoma Black Pack. We do this every other Tuesday at 11 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time. We hope that you will tune in weeks. And as always, subscribe, follow us on social media, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Same bad time, same black channel.
Same bat channel.
Ah, I threw that in there. All right, y'all.
Have a good
Y'all be
rest of
easy.
your day, people.
All right.